Hello, friends. This is Dorie Clark, and on behalf of Newsweek, I am here with our weekly interview show, Better, where we interview thought leaders, authors, corporate leaders, and other people we can learn from about how we can make our lives better. Today, we're here with Lisa Nirell. Lisa is the author of the book, The Mindful Marketer, and we are going to be sharing strategies about something that is probably on all of our minds these days as we go into the holidays, as we go into year two of figuring out the whole COVID and post-COVID situation, which is how to stay calm in a toxic world. It's so wonderful to have everyone here. And Lisa Nirell, we want to welcome you to the show.
Dorie, hi, happy holidays, and thanks for having me here today.
Wonderful. Well, it's great to have you. And if you are tuning in, please feel free to type your name and where you're calling in from into the chat box. We'd love to see who's here. And of course, we'll be taking your questions for Lisa Nirell. So please feel free to type those in additionally. So Lisa, the first question that I have for you now, when it comes to staying calm in a toxic world, of work, you wrote the book, The Mindful Marketer. Obviously, this implies mindfulness. Some people may say, oh, is this about meditation? What is it that mindfulness connotes to you? What is it we should actually be striving for? How do we stay calm in a toxic world?
Well, I really appreciate your having me here today, Dorie. And I've been asked that question many times. Lisa, what do you mean by being a mindful marketer? So the ideas and the strategies I'm sharing today are ones I personally have road tested for more than 21 years. And then many of my clients, I've advised over 150 senior marketing leaders and CEOs over the last 21 years. So we have used these strategies to help them build more sustainable companies and better lives. So for me, the definition of mindfulness is 4 words: non-judgmental, present moment awareness. And if COVID hasn't taught us anything, it's being able to notice our thoughts, being able to observe where we're at the present moment while Omicron is showing up, or while we do our 2022 business planning and we're stressed about headcount or whatever those stressors are, is to just say and name it and say, Dorie, this is a very stressful time for me, and I'm feeling some anxiety. And to just even to be in a workforce now where people are willing to share what's true for them versus shoving it under the rug, denying it, or turning to drugs and alcohol to stifle the pain. I'm all for meditation versus self-medication.
Amen to that. Yes. We are here with Lisa Nirell. She's the author of the book, The Mindful Marketer. If you want to learn more about Lisa and her work, you can check out her very helpful resources at themindfulmarketer.com. And I wanted to just take a moment to welcome some of the great friends that are tuning in from around the world to join us. We've got Todd here from New York. We've got Kimberly from Tennessee. Anil is here. Nancy from the UK. Mubina is in Pakistan. We've got Kristen from Dallas. Elen is here from Queens. Patricia is here from Denmark. We have Owen Nils from Austin. Karen's here from Boston. We have Alexandra from Berlin. Japar is here from Basel. We have Carol from Missouri. Rolla from Jordan. Kayla from mid-Missouri. I like that specificity. And many more. So we're so happy to have all of you friends here. Please continue to type into the chat box. Let us know where you're dialing in from and what questions you have for Lisa Nirell. She's the author of The Mindful Marketer, and we're talking about how to stay calm in a toxic world. Now, Lisa, one thing I happen to know about you from knowing you IRL is that you are actually a very serious long distance swimmer. Now, when you have described your feats to me, honestly, it has struck terror into my heart. But I have to imagine that somehow this for you ties in with being mindful and being present. Maybe you can talk a little bit about your own personal journey with this and how some of these strategies might be applied by other people who are braver than myself.
Well, being a mindfulness practitioner as a method to stay calm in the world we live in now. It takes not just mental strength, it also takes some physical strength. And I get a lot of my physical strength from my open water swims. So a few months before COVID actually shut us all down, I went on this dream of a lifetime, swim of a lifetime in the Cyclades Islands in Greece. And I'll never forget when we were swimming, there were 7 of us that were from all over the world. We were swimming from one island to another island. And when we started, our boat captain dropped us off and we were going to swim 2 miles to the other island. And everything was going great. And all of a sudden, the currents changed. The wind changed. It got really choppy. And Coach Alex, Captain Alex on the boat said, "All right, everybody, get out. You're getting back on the boat." So I almost had a temper tantrum in the water because I was swimming my best for the whole week. You know, I was there. We were swimming every day. And I was almost angry. And then I went, okay, now just calm down. You're doing a swim of a lifetime here. Just be grateful for being able to be in this gorgeous place. And don't take it out on the captain. He's only doing what he needs to do to keep all of us safe in these rough waters. So my question for everyone here is, who's your boat captain? And who's helping you navigate so many of the rough waters we've all experienced around the world in the last 2 years? And I think that's the first strategy I would ask everyone is, you know, as you look to play the long game, which is one of my other favorite books, how are you designing your community to help you stay calm when the seas get rough?
I love that. Wow. I knew there was a metaphor in there somewhere, but you just landed that. That's great. Thank you, Lisa. We're here with Lisa Nirell. She's the author of The Mindful Marketer. You can learn more about Lisa and her work at themindfulmarketer.com. And she also runs an organization for CMOs called marketinggrowthleaders.com. So you can check that out as well. Please feel free to type your questions for Lisa into the chat box. We've been talking about how to stay calm in a toxic world, something we probably all need these days. We want to say hi to some new friends tuning in. Ibtesama is here from Pakistan. Klaus is here. We've got Troy from DC, Eugenia from Costa Rica. Ambra is here from Milan. Erica's here. Oh, Klaus is in Lisbon. Patrick is here from Germany. Armando from Utah. Marco from Mexico. Lori from California. So many wonderful international friends. We're glad to have you. And Lisa, something that occurs to me, if we're talking about, you know, how to stay calm in a toxic world, especially our work circumstances, often a problem that I think many of us have is that over time we begin to kind of acclimate or get used to circumstances that are really suboptimal. It's sort of like the old trope about, you know, the frog in the boiling water and it doesn't know that it's getting hotter and hotter, so it doesn't know to jump out. If we're actually trying to make an honest evaluation of, are we in a toxic situation? Are we in a place that's really problematic? How do we begin to do that? How do we begin to tell the difference between something that's like, it's hard, but I just should be slogging through it versus, oh my gosh, I really need to make some serious changes right now to how things are going?
Yes, I don't believe in being the frog in the slowly boiling water. That's for sure. What I've done, and I've been through some of my own trauma. I lost both of my parents within a 2-year period. I went through a painful divorce a few years ago. And the first place I noticed, where I was really starting to feel like something needed to change, is in my body. So as you look at some of the work, for example, of Dr. Van der Bork out of the Netherlands, who wrote a terrific New York Times bestseller called The Body Keeps the Score, we have to look at and do a body scan. So I'm not here to proselytize mindfulness, meditation, Reiki, yoga. There are multiple paths to dialing into how we feel and what needs to change in order for us to feel our best. I recommend, and I always listen first and foremost, not to my head, but what's going on in my body. And when I'm feeling like something really needs to change because something is off, or I'm in a toxic situation with a client or at work, the first thing I do is a body scan. And most of my stress is usually in my belly, my digestive system, but it could be in your neck, it could be a headache, it could be a shoulder ache. So learn, don't give up the somatic experience to find out what your body is trying to tell you.
Yeah, I think it's really astute, Lisa. In fact, I was just corresponding with a friend today who was talking about some of the physical stress symptoms that she was experiencing. So it's so common, and we have to learn to attune to that better. Not everyone, unfortunately, can be as relaxed as Philip the cat, who is very much in tune with his body on a regular basis.
Animals have much to teach us, don't they? I mean, you and I are both avid cat lovers, and yeah, my cat knows how to calm me down. They have this sixth sense that we probably had many thousands of years ago that has now been overshadowed by our constant quest to know things, right? And to live in our brains. But
I
there's
think
so
that's
much
right.
more there.
Absolutely. I think if Philip wanted to, he could figure out how to calm me down. Instead, he likes to wake me from my sleep by meowing at me to play. But perhaps when he's a more mature young man, he will apply his skills differently. But in the meantime, we're here with Lisa Nirell. She is the author of the book, The Mindful Marketer. We've been talking about how to stay calm in a toxic world. We want to say hi to some of our new friends tuning in. Luis is here from Mexico. Kelly's in the house from Boston. We have Musa Baudin from Nigeria, Helena from Berlin, Jahangir is from Pakistan. Pakistan is really representing today. Thank you, Pakistan. That's great. Jeffrey from Florida, Adedoyan is here from Lagos. Hello, Vandita from New Jersey, Ruchi from India, Akil from Turkey, and many other friends. So glad to have you here. And a question, Lisa, came in for you from Carol, and she really liked your boat captain metaphor. She says, I manage a team of 11. I'm the boat captain, but I hear toxic comments from above, and it trickles down, and the frontline staff hears them. Carol wants to keep her team on track, but if they're hearing these toxic comments from above, it becomes really hard to manage that. If you are somebody who is a leader in a similar position to Carol, what would you suggest as a strategy to follow?
Wow. Well, first of all, Carol took the first step and she named it, and was courageous enough to come forward and say, look, this ain't cool. And this is affecting the team. So the first thing is, that I learned when I studied mindfulness 21 years ago is to accept what is the current state, and just name what it is with equanimity, right? Without any big emotional charge or drama. Now, you have many choices here, Carol. The first choice you would have is to sit down with one of the most trusted executives who might be saying these things, pull them aside in private and say, here's what's happening. When you do this, this is the impact, and let them respond. Just listen. And if they're either going to acknowledge it and say, yeah, maybe we should do that, say things differently around here, or they'll be in total denial, at which point, you've got a career choice to make. So see where the conversation goes, and whether any of those executives are willing to accept and take ownership of the consequences of their actions. And then you will know from a career perspective whether you can have an impact. You need to put your head down and pretend it's not happening, which I never suggest, but some people do for security reasons. Or option 3, find a better work environment. Because Dorie, you and I both know people do not leave companies. They leave their bosses.
Exactly. So true, Lisa, and really helpful advice. Thank you for sharing that. We're here with Lisa Nirell, author of The Mindful Marketer. If you're enjoying this conversation, hit the like button and hit the share button so that your friends can learn from Lisa's insights and spread the wisdom about how we can all do better at staying calm in a toxic world. We have a lot of wonderful friends from around the world tuning in. We have Annette from Southern California. We have Rafiq from India. Cyril is here from Paris. This is great. Yvonne is here from Mexico. We have Chukwa from Nigeria. And a great question came in, Lisa, from Anna from New Hampshire. And she says that she feels like a great cause of anxiety is when you want to move forward, but maybe you're sort of a little bit stuck in the past with how things have been done. She wants to know, how can we reshift our mentality and have the ability to fly or fall or keep flapping when we're going through swampy areas. So this is really a question about mindset. If we want to reorient ourselves but are maybe having a little bit of trouble doing it, what would be your recommendation for that?
Well, Anna, thank you for that question. And if any of us here, and I bet most of us here watching, are all already embracing a growth mindset, right? We're channeling our inner Carol Dweck from Stanford University. Here's one of the things we know for sure is that we are all going to have moments where our mindset gets in the way of having a breakthrough. It happens to everybody. I don't care where you sit in your business or what your career looks like. We all get stuck and sometimes paralyzed. And as we look at the myriad longevity studies that have been done, what are the 3 core success principles for anyone who wants to thrive and deal with the day-to-day vicissitudes of work? The 3 things we've got to have in place, one of which I already talked about, which we accomplish in the Marketing Growth Leaders CMO community. And that is, surround yourself with a community of like-minded people who can call you out, Dorie, and say, hey, Dorie, you've been swirling around in the ocean here. You're in an eddy. Got to help you. Do you want to get out of the eddy or do you want to stay in the eddy? So that's number 1. Number 2, your wellness, your physical wellness, your diet, your sleep, your exercise. Do you have the fortitude to recognize when you're stuck? And number 3, you've got to have some kind of purpose, whether that's to build a beautiful family, whether it's to make the world a better place, as we've seen with Patagonia this week in their donating $10 million on Black Friday. Whatever your purpose is, those 3 things, if you can work on those every day, then you'll have what I call rapid discovery, rapid recovery. I hope that's helpful, Anna. Please tell us in the notes. And also, I recommend, Dorie, people go to themindfulmarketer.com. We have loads of free tools and guides that we've built for these exact questions.
Fantastic, Lisa. Thank you so much for that. And hello to some new friends tuning in. Altair is from Sao Paulo. We have Madoda from South Africa. Micah's here from the Philippines. This is fantastic. So all kinds of people from around the world. Scott is here from Alberta. Welcome, Scott. So we're thrilled to have you. Eduardo is here from Portugal. Now, Lisa, you're mentioning the website, The Mindful Marketer. You're the author of a book by that name. We've been talking a lot about the mindfulness piece of this equation. How do we stay calm in a toxic world? I want to tune in for a moment to the marketing piece of the equation. Now, what does marketing have to do with this? What does it mean to be a mindful marketer specifically? And if, number 1, what good does that do? And number 2, how might we better aspire to that? If we were to say, yes, I like the idea of being a mindful marketer, what does that even look like?
Well, it looks like most of our wonderful audience here all have careers and most likely are intrigued by how can I be mindful and calm with customers and with people who are our stakeholders within our organization. And that's what drove me to write the book, The Mindful Marketer, is I said, is there a benefit? Are there organizations out there who are practicing mindfulness principles and noticing an improvement in customer retention or in generating sales with great customers and closing business with their ideal customers, right? And I found that there was a connection. And, I think back at the former chief marketing officer of Expedia, and she worked with me on the book in terms of being one of the people I interviewed. And she noticed that employee engagement scores were really bad. And people were over addicted to their phones, and they were coming to meetings, constantly checking emails. And she changed a lot of their internal rituals. She saw employee engagement scores grow something to the effect of 80% in improvement. And she said, well, if our marketing teams can start being more mindful about how they use their time and how they communicate with each other, what might be the impact on our customers? And, that's part of the reason that they then saw a huge spike in sales and growth at Expedia. I think for sure it was a contributor to their success. So there are multiple examples of this in my book of leaders who said, let's use some of the basic principles of self-awareness, of having poise by beginning with a pause, before we press the enter key or send key on our keyboard to send that negative email or message or text. How can we use some of these principles in how we connect with our audiences?
Yeah, that's really helpful, Lisa. Thank you very much. Again, we are here with Lisa Nirell. If you want to learn more about her and her work, you can go to the mindfulmarketer.com. And if you want to make sure that you never miss one of our weekly conversations that we have here for Newsweek on our show Better, it's 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. in London, go to my website, DorieClark.com. You can sign up there, download a free self-assessment. You will be added to the email list, and you will get reminders about these amazing conversations. We have been here talking about how to stay calm in a toxic world, and our guest, Lisa Nirell, has been sharing her insights. And Lisa, something that I am curious about, and probably a lot of people are, we had a great question come in from Lesia. And, when we think about how do we find our own sense of centeredness, our own inner calm, despite all the things that are going on around us, which is always a challenge. In many ways, this actually ties in, one might argue, with our sense of purpose. And Lesia wants to know, what is your advice if we're not sure what our purpose is? How do we find it? Or is this the right question to be asking? How would you say that questions of purpose tie in with being able to be mindful and find meaning in what we're doing?
Lesia, thank you for that great question. Let's see, Dorie, what do you think we can accomplish in 60 seconds or less? These questions are rather existential in nature. And
indeed, they are.
It takes a courageous person like Lesia to say, okay, first of all, I'm not sure I have my purpose codified, or maybe it changed during COVID when 99% of the population had an existential identity crisis, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
First of all, kudos to you for even asking the question, Lesia. And the second thing I would look at is, how do I define purpose? It is a cornerstone trait of people who live long and fulfilling lives and have great careers. And so think about, where can I have an impact? Now, I am a contrarian on this story. I used to think that you will find your purpose by doing something you're passionate about. I went on that path for years. And then I realized, when I saw so many young people coming out of school and not finding jobs in the last decade, and being frustrated, I then realized, no, go find something that you're pretty darn good at. And it doesn't have to be your 24/7 passion. But if you're good at it, guess what's going to happen? You're going to build those swimming muscles, and you're going to say, I'm darn good at this. I am feeling more confident. And you know what? There's a purpose in here somewhere. I'm not sure what it is yet, but I'm going to keep getting better. I'm going to get paid more. I'm going to get promoted. And it's going to give me the platform from which I can then get more clarity on my broader purpose. So my action item for you, Lesia, is go try a few things if you're not sure. Put your toe in the water, experiment, take a class at night, or you can go on LinkedIn Learning, which Dorie and I are both members of. We're both members of the LinkedIn Learning faculty. I have a course called The Effective CMO. And try some of these avenues to see what resonates and where can I show how good I really am.
So good, Lisa. Thank you for that. And I agree completely. In fact, in my new book, prop alert, The Long Game, How to Be a Long-Term Thinker in a Short-Term World, I actually talk about, instead of striving to find your purpose or to optimize for meaning, which can be really hard if we don't feel like we know what our purpose is. It can almost be paralyzing. Instead, I suggest trying to optimize for interesting. Just find something that's interesting, reasonably interesting. It doesn't have to be, the greatest passion of your life, but as long as it's interesting to you and continues to be, then keep moving in that direction. And it's a good way to keep moving forward and keep learning, as Lisa says, about yourself. So this is great. And thank you all to folks who are tuning in. We have even more amazing viewers. DT is here from Rochester, and Tumba is from Cape Town. We have Jenny from New York City. We have Rachel from London. We're very glad to have all of you guys. T. Nguyen is here from San Jose. And you've been asking wonderful questions. Lisa Nirell is our guest today. Lisa, we have time probably for just two more brief things. The first one that I am curious about, I know we mentioned earlier, you run a group for CMOs. The information is at marketinggrowthleaders.com. Can you tell us very briefly, what is this? What does this do? What can one learn?
Yes, this is an exclusive peer group for chief marketing officers and vice presidents of marketing who want to build more sustainable companies and have better lives, which is the theme of this show. And we just celebrated 10 years, and this is an exclusive peer group for executives who want to achieve bigger things. They want to get promoted faster. They want to they want to make that leap from order taker to innovator in their organizations. And as I said earlier, they want one of those keys to longevity, which is to build a community of like-minded leaders who are there to help them grow. So you can go there and read some of the stories, like the CMO who recently was a member of our group for 8 years. And she used our group and helped our group as well, and brought her strategic marketing and leadership challenges to the group, solved a lot of them a lot faster. And then we helped her get positioned for a broader role as a COO with a multi-billion-dollar real estate company. So it's been those are the kind of success stories that we share on a regular basis. So people can learn more and go to marketinggrowthleaders.com.
Fantastic. So folks can go there. They can also learn more at the mindfulmarketer.com. And Lisa, the final question that I have for you, as we're talking about how to stay calm in a toxic world, is, obviously for just about all of us, the challenge is constantly toggling between the urgent and the important, right? We want to be calm. We want to be present and mindful. And yet it seems like so many things are coming at us, and it can feel like an impossibility in the moment. If you were speaking to some of the many great friends who are tuning in today, who, after their lunch break is over, they're going back to an inbox with a million little fires that they have to deal with. What would you suggest as one step, one low-hanging fruit that someone can take today in order to better stay calm in a toxic environment?
I recommend that you tell yourself a little mantra. Poise begins with a pause. So if you do nothing more this week, then try to pause for 1 minute before your next big meeting. Or as you're hopping from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting, make time in between. Put a 5-minute wedge in between your meetings and just stop and reflect and say, I just finished this meeting. What worked in that meeting? What didn't work in that meeting? And for my next meeting, what are my intentions? What are my, take that pause. It could be a minute, it could be 5 minutes. That's going to help. It's helped me thousands of times. It'll help you calm. And even one extra bonus step. Stop making Zoom meetings back to back. Give yourself 15 to 30 minutes of breathing room. I always remember what Alan Weiss told us many times, Dorie, one of our mentors. Nobody is shooting at us. We don't need to have 9 Zoom meetings a day, right? So create those boundaries for yourself. You're worth it.
Yes, you are. That's fantastic advice, Lisa Nirell. Thank you. If you want to learn more about Lisa, she is, of course, the author of The Mindful Marketer, and you can learn more at themindfulmarketer.com. We're so glad to have you here, Lisa. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all of our friends who are tuning in this week. We will be back again next week, December 9th at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific. And until then, have a wonderful week, everyone. And Lisa, thank you again.
Great to see you, Dorie. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.